मैम क्या कहेंगे कि प्रधानमंत्री हम सबसे यहाँ से मिल के गए हैं? अच्छा लगता है ट्रैवल
So there you hear Modi chants reverberate. The Indian diaspora, remember, has been eagerly waiting the Prime Minister's arrival in Hiroshima, and upon his arrival, those were the enthusiastic supporters of the Prime Minister, followers of the Prime Minister, chanting Modi slogans, expressing their enthusiasm by these chants. The vibrant chants could be clearly heard reverberating through the air as the crowd eagerly anticipated the presence of their leader. And as he moved out from the hotel, you can see him interacting with several of those people, the Indian diaspora. They're very, very enthusiastic at the moment. Charu Pragya is also with us on the broadcast. Charu, you know, it goes without saying that while we're looking at where India is placed on the global map and all eyes really on the kind of issues that will be spoken of and what kind of role will India play, what are the discussions that take place over tomorrow and day after, the kind of response that the Prime Minister receives, not just here in Japan, across the world, we've seen the Indian diaspora welcome the Prime Minister with everything they have, with all their heart.
Absolutely, and he has been a Prime Minister who has continued to win hearts since the day he came to office as the Prime Minister of India. It's heartwarming to see these visuals. I have been watching them on Times Now along with you, and every time I think the enthusiasm with which Prime Minister Modi is received does not wane, does not go down, and I think that is because not just the Indian diaspora but the whole world is looking at India with a lot of hope. Looking at India's leadership with a lot of hope, because while we have the presidency for G20, Japan is going to be hosting some critical meetings, and Japan has been very cooperative in all the meetings that India is also hosting. So I actually enjoy all these visuals very much, because it makes us realize that India's position in the world is strengthening day by day. The world knows that we are the youngest demographic there is. The world knows that we can be a factory to the world. We are a very fast rising economy with solid leadership, clear mandate in the parliament, and that speaks for a lot of things. Also, Prime Minister's personal relationships with world leaders is something which has helped establish our democratic relations in a better way.
And you and I really don't have to speak of it in as many words. It's the people there giving that kind of a welcome to the Prime Minister, and that's what indicates their love for the Prime Minister of India. Let me go across to Sonal, who's reporting for Times Now from outside the hotel. Sonal, these are very heartwarming visuals, and the kind of love the Prime Minister is being shown by the Indian diaspora there goes without saying that it's immense. What can you tell us about the Prime Minister's movement? What's going on there?
Now, after meeting with each and every Indian diaspora who was waiting here for hours, he didn't disappointed a single person. He met and shook hand with the little ones, the elder ones, everybody. So the josh was very, very high for that 10 minutes to 15 minutes. He took all around and met everybody here. So the excitement is still here after meeting him, after seeing him. And after meeting everybody, the security and everything escorted him to the next point, which is his hotel, and post that I can give you more detail about him. So यहाँ से अभी देखिए after meeting every Indian diaspora where he is going to.
Okay. Well, you know, the scene in Hiroshima, Sonal, has captured the deep connection and the pride felt by the entire Indian community living abroad. It's highlighted their strong bond with their homeland, with its leadership. You've been speaking to some of the people there who are waiting to interact with the Prime Minister right outside the hotel. What have they been saying? How are they feeling today upon the Prime Minister's visit?
So what is your feeling after seeing him?
Modi ji, best.
Best. So how do you feel after his arrival when you met him and you shook hand with him?
Great person. I tell you, he didn't bother about the security, and he was so friendly with the people waiting for him. And he met every old, youngster, kid. So amazing person. He's a great personality.
Thank you. So you met Modi-san, right? He blessed you. He shook hand with you. So how do you feel now?
very proud. I'm very happy.
What is your name?
My name is Harini.
Asli and Harini. So, what do were you waiting for him for long? Okay, so you're excited?
Yeah.
So this is now the wrap-up is happening here because the security protocol again. This is a hotel lobby, so we are requested to move now from this place. As with the security, Modi-san's car has already left from this venue, and for the next meeting. So all the Indian diaspora is going back to their hotels and their homes. And tomorrow morning again there is inauguration of Mahatma Gandhi's statue, which symbolizes the peace which India, the peace message which India wants to give to the world as a guest of G7 summit. It will be inaugurated here in Hiroshima, which is the World Peace Center for Japan also. So that definitely gives a significant strength and message to the world regarding Japan and India relationship.
Sonal, we'll come back to you in just a bit. There's a lot of movement going on there, so we'll give you a breather. Let me quickly take in a word from Charu Pragya as well. But before that, live reactions coming in as well. Listen in.
काफ़ी पहले से ज़्यादा अब हमारी भी इम्पोर्टेंस यहाँ होती है। पहले हम इंडिया का नाम नहीं ले पाते थे इतना खुल करके जितना अब लेते हैं। अब हमें गर्व होता है और कोई भी मोदी जी को सुनता है तो सभी बहुत तारीफ करते हैं। वो कहते हैं कि आपके जो पीएम हैं वो बहुत ही ज़्यादा अच्छा काम कर रहे हैं।
Okay, so a very enthusiastic crowd here, and like Sonal was also telling us, reporting for Times Now, she said the Prime Minister made sure that he shakes hands with everybody, he acknowledges everyone's presence there, right outside the hotel, eagerly waiting for the Prime Minister. Those are some of the visuals we keep up with. Charu, what is it about Prime Minister Narendra Modi that, you know, leaves this kind of an impact worldwide? There are people settled abroad who want to look at the Prime Minister once, shake hands with him, and you know, those are the visuals speaking for themselves, really.
Absolutely, and he's a statesman. There's no two ways about it. He's not simply a leader for India. He has become a very prominent leader on the global platform. And it's so lovely to listen into all these observations by people who are there to welcome him to Hiroshima. Also, I think what has been happening, and I've heard first-hand accounts of this, when people live abroad and they come and visit India, and there are gaps in these visits, every time they come back home, they see India doing better in terms of infrastructure, in terms of facilities. They see India rising, and I think it's easier to do that when you have a perspective from a distance. When you're right here, sometimes you get trapped in your everyday story and you forget to focus on how well we have done over the last 9 years, 10 years. And that's one of the reasons why Indian diaspora anywhere abroad looks at Modi ji with continued hope and so much love. It's really wonderful to see my leader there receiving so much love from everyone.
Okay. Let's also continue this conversation with the Ram Madhav, member India Foundation and author who's also with us. We were earlier speaking with him about, you know, the global south, India truly representing it and how it's given the indication that we're more reliable alternative to China. But speaking of the same, Mr. Madhav, we also have our own concerns over the violation of our territorial integrity by China. The G7 may, of course, focus on the economic aspect of it, but how will our differences with China play out in this particular summit, you think?
Remember, our territorial dispute with China is our bilateral challenge. It's a bilateral issue. We never took it to any multilateral forums. If at all there is any place for it to be discussed, it's only at the UN level, but nowhere else. Even there, we never took it up. We strictly regarded it as a bilateral issue. We are capable of handling it. But the challenge from China is something more serious, more sinister. China is trying to today build an alternate world order. You know, as the G7 countries are hosting their meeting in Hiroshima today, we all know that China is hosting its own, Central Asia-China dialogue in Beijing. in China. So China is trying to build an alternate order where its own rule prevails, its own diktats will prevail. So that is going to be a bigger challenge, apart from, of course, the security challenge that we face in Indo-Pacific region, in South China Sea, etc. So our larger challenge that is coming from China in terms of building an alternative authoritarian world order, trying to dominate financial markets of the world, making yuan the currency of the world, replacing dollar on all the issues. Of course, G7 countries and India will be on the same page, will work together. But I think as far as the border dispute is concerned, it has remained so far a bilateral issue, and I think it will continue to remain as only a bilateral issue.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Madhav, for that. Going across to Charu Pragya once again. Charu, we don't want to quite focus on the kind of reactions that are coming in from within India. And I'm speaking about the Congress party because they've referred to this entire participation of the Prime Minister as drum beating, says it serves the purpose of erasing contribution of previous governments. I'd want you to quickly come in on that. But before that, there are other key aspects, and the world is really eyeing out for what transpires, because remember how everyone is looking at where India stands, what India thinks about, the war in Ukraine, what are the issues that are going to be brought to the table, and India is going to be in attendance. There is so much more that everybody is watching out for, really.
Yeah, and you're right. Our PM is slated to meet Zelensky. Our Prime Minister is slated to meet President Biden. So there are going to be a lot of other very important meetings on the sidelines of G7. And we are waiting to see what are the statements that come out post these meetings. See, it's very unfortunate that the opposition today minds the fact that India is establishing its position as a global leader. And this is for very many reasons. We just have someone today with a very strong voice in the international arena. India needed that. We don't mince our words anymore. So whether it's the stand our Prime Minister takes for any global conflict, whether it is the contribution of India when COVID struck and we were literally one of the few handful of nations that managed to make a vaccine. We were one of them. I think 9 nations made a vaccine and India actually made 2. So these are not just instances which make other countries look at us as merely a demographic or as merely a market. We are looked upon as someone with a lot of advancement in technology. We are now the 3rd biggest country when it comes to the startup ecosystem. All these things contribute greatly. And also, I think the stronger the Indian Parliament, the better the democracy in India, the better it is for the world over, because we are a peace-loving nation. India's position matters a lot. 1 in every 6th person in the world is an Indian. So those who think that we should have a meek Prime Minister who, like before, stood to the sidelines.
I want to quickly quote Congress General Secretary Charu Pragya. He says, and I caught the hype factory around the self-styled Vishwaguru attending the G7 summit in Hiroshima in Japan has started manufacturing fake narratives. Now, as far as the hype factory is concerned, the visuals speaking for themselves. This is really, truly the hype around the Prime Minister that everyone wants to actually focus on.
You see where the hype is. The audience is hyped. The people who are there at the airport to receive him or lining the streets of Hiroshima or outside the hotel, that's where the hype is. They're so excited. It's like, we can feel their excitement right here sitting in New Delhi. That's how excited they are. So if Congress wants to pretend and put their head in the sand like an ostrich and say that Prime Minister Modi is not popular, then I am sorry. They really need to wake up. And
because this drum beating is not taking place on part of the BJP. These are people who are settled abroad, who are settled in Japan, Indian diaspora out there who are giving him that kind of a reception. So and yeah, quickly make your point.
And more importantly, not just the Indian diaspora. See, on the global platform, India has earned its place at the table. Yes. We have a voice because we have earned that voice. Everybody is looking at us and waiting for us to speak. So I don't understand what the problem is that Congress is suffering with, because Prime Minister Modi has made sure that what India says matters now.
As the Prime Minister does in each and every important global forum, sends out the message that needs to be sent out. in its most firm aspect. The Prime Minister already saying that, India is fully prepared, it's committed to protect its sovereignty and dignity, and there's much more lined up the next 2 days. Charu, thank you for speaking to us. We need to head on a very short break. We'll be right back. Do stay tuned.